Ding dong, Marx is dead. Ding dong, communism's dead. Ding dong, socialism's dead. Ding dong, Clause 4 is dead. And it is not coming back. The free market economy is the only show in town. And I'm afraid that violent economic centrifuge is operating on human beings who are already very far from equal in raw ability. Whatever you may think of the value of IQ tests, it is surely relevant to a conversation about equality that as many as 16% of our species have an IQ below 85, 2% have an IQ above 130. The income gap is getting wider than ever. And I stress, I don't believe that economic equality is possible. Indeed, some measure of inequality is essential.
Mandatory Redistribution Party. Mandatory Redistribution Party. Mandatory Redistribution Party. Mandatory Redistribution Party. Redistribution Party. Mandatory Redistribution Party. Mandatory Redistribution Party.
Hello and welcome to Mandatory Redistribution Party. My name is Jack Evans.
And I am Sean Morley.
This week's episode is about the very bad justifications for our massively unequal society, central to which is the idea of, quote, skilled labour, unquote.
The reason the people who put out the bins have less money than people who stamp loan applications with a big red stamp that says denied is because doing the stamp is a lot harder than doing the bin.
To be fair, leveraging debt onto like care homes and prisons and siphoning the profits to Luxembourg is like pretty tricky stuff. These people are very skilled.
Well, you should see how heavy some of the stuff I throw away is.
I also explain why IQ is fucked.
If you want to reward our skills, you can sign up to our Patreon on patreon.com/mandatory redistribution party, where you can connect our well-being to your bank balance.
Oh my lord. If you are unable to do this, or you don't want to, please alternatively consider leaving us a review or sharing this episode on social media. Thank you, friends. Please enjoy consuming this content. Sean Morley, what is your most lucrative skill?
Emails. Well-structured emails.
Do you know what? You do write a good email.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm very email neurotic, but I think almost all creative jobs, there's one skill, and it's emails. You're an illustrator, your income is related to your ability to send an email. Comedy, emails. You're a director, well, if you're a big director, creative. Maybe not, you might need a fax machine, but like, if you're a budding director of indie movies, emails.
Any freelancing, emails.
It's more important to your income than how good you are at that discipline.
I've seen some horror show emails. I don't like the use of emojis in emails in a professional setting. Mm-hmm. And I'm not usually one to bandy around the concept of unprofessional.
Can you imagine if you admitted that now?
Someone, if a manager, imagine someone a manager sending you a passively aggressive thing.
Yeah.
To remind you to do a thing that you'd already done and they'd not fucking paid attention to or something. It's got an exclamation point at the end of the thing to almost make the request, a demand of a boss on a worker to make it like exclamation point. That's quite bad. And then immediately followed by the dead-eyed smiling emoji. Not the full mouth, not like crying laughing face. I would, if a manager deployed crying laughing face or like the wacky emoji.
Yeah, upside down smile blushing.
Like I would actually, it would go right to the background and I'd be like, that's actually good.
Promotion.
Yeah. Your employee, I'm going to lobby for you to be promoted.
I'm going to email your boss.
I'm going to email your boss and just copy paste this email and go, can you just see the quality that your middle managers are delivering here in terms of emoji game? But they requested a thing I'd already emailed them and they put the monkey's head in hands after it.
Oh, that's not good. And that's big. That's like big middle class Facebook mum kind of energy I get off that. Yeah. The worst emoji use that I get or have gotten, I think, is when it's not an actual emoji, but it's a proper emoticon, and they've done the smiley face, but they've inserted a nose.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Someone inserting a nose, and not even the minus symbol long nose.
Yeah.
I think it was a lowercase O circular clown nose.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely no place for it. And actually, now that I've begun that story, I've remembered who sent me that, and they've gone to jail for a very bad crime.
Oh, Jesus. Fuck. Is it to talk about on the podcast or move on? Yeah, okay. That noise.
Just a bad crime.
That noise.
Think top 3 if
it's in there. Yeah, okay. It wasn't an emoji, but I had an email from a promoter once who I don't even think runs gigs anymore, in about 2015, when I asked them about owed money, and I got a the sort of arms up shrugging, not the emoji, but it's like an ASCII. It's like an ASCII.
An ASCII shrug.
It wasn't just that. They did like explain, but then it ended with that, and I was like, that has undermined.
Yeah. I'm asking for late fees, and you've given me that kind of Japanese Kirby throwing a table upside down, complicated ASCII.
Actually, do you know what? If middle managers start using ASCII, I'm actually fine with that.
Yeah, if they've given you a report, right, about like what's going to be happening in the next term or what's coming up in Q2, but at the top is this massive like game FAQs rendering of like them stood next to the company logo. It's like, I'm in. Yeah, KPIs are going to be hit this year.
I will do anything you want.
Yeah,
I will kill. So yeah, I think it is.
Number one skill. Emails.
Yeah, that's a fair answer. What is your most lucrative skill?
I
Emails.
think, like, I will put numbers down on this.
Yeah.
The year that I learned to stop saying sorry at the beginning and end of the email, I think that was it. Like, my yearly income went up by at least $1,000.
That is hard, though.
It's really hard.
It's really hard.
Freelancers, please listen to me. No, go through. Always do a second pass to remove the sorries.
Yeah, you've got to go in with confidence.
Yeah.
It isn't. The email is not just communication. It's just advertising. You're advertising yourself.
This week, I emailed someone to ask to pay them to do something, to commission something from them, and I still apologised in it. What have I got to apologise for?
I'm sorry. I'm offering you work.
I'm so sorry.
So sorry.
So sorry. I admire your work and want to pay you to make more.
And so you should be. What skill do you think is your least lucrative that still counts as a skill? Like, what skill would you never put on a CV?
Okay, so something that like I am definitely skilled at. People would you can do that.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping at some point memes become monetizable. Although actually, scratch that. Scratch that from the record, because actually I have monetized that.
Yeah, you have monetized memes.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
What have I got then?
Speed running games in my teens. I could do Resident Evil GameCube remake Jill in like hour 35.
Speedruns are monetizable now.
I know. Yeah. It's annoying. I wish I don't think I retain any of my muscle memory.
The run will have changed, like whatever you had then is going to be different.
Yeah. But I think one time in my student house, we looked up scores we were getting on SSX Tricky on like whatever website it is that has
Twin
the world
Galaxies.
records. Yeah, it was Twin Galaxies. And we were like, holy shit, we have high scores. And I think somewhere I've still got the PS2 memory card that has those high scores on. But it wouldn't, you have to actually video yourself doing it.
Yeah.
It isn't just a save with a high score on. So I'm pretty, but now perhaps useful. My legacy speedrunning skills, I would not be able to get them up to either the knowledge base of the current speedrunning and or SSX high score community, or I love that my notion that's. I'm going to check and see if people are still playing SSX on Twitch.
There will be. For everything, there's something. Because I started doing some streaming because that's all I have.
Yeah.
I've been playing loads of obscure games, and quite often, like, the one guy who speedruns it will pop in, and it's really annoying actually, because I'm playing through it like just go, this game sounded really weird, or this is a game from my childhood, and someone will pop in and go, do you know you could do this route and this route and this route, and I'm like, hey, hang on. I've not played this before, leave me alone.
Well, and also, if you wanted to do that, you could just alt tab and go on to whatever game's wiki, and that's boring. Like, people don't understand they're two different things, I suppose, speedrunning a game and playing a game.
And having fun.
But so, I think, maybe my premise is that's my joke answer to a skill. Like, why would you put that on your CV?
Yeah.
But actually, maybe you should now.
My downtime I spend as intensely as my uptime.
And
so I gather a lot of useless skills for fun. And because I do comedy, and that's something like I started doing for fun, but then sort of became a job, and lots of things I started off as fun become a job. And I realized, like, if you monetize all your hobbies, you put them into capitalism, and you kind of get alienated from the thing that once brought you joy. And now, like, I'm old enough to be like, if I'm doing something that's like fun and I enjoy it, I really have to be like, Sean, don't you dare earn any money from this. Don't you dare accidentally get paid for this, because it will alienate you from it. You won't relax when you play it now.
It's nuts. Because a thing that you get hammered home from by the middle class messaging in the education system is, like, study subjects you enjoy, and then you can make money doing something you enjoy. And it, the idea of making money doing something you enjoy is, like, something to aspire to. But the line between, I think if I did start playing games on Twitch or something, it would radically reduce my enjoyment.
I look at people who they stream like 6 days a week and they're just playing video games. And like me, when I was 9 years old, I'd be like, that's amazing. Looking at that lifestyle now and being like, I'm instantly worried about your mental and physical health.
Well, and it's even worse as well, because all of these types of jobs, like content creator, you're completely beholden to the audience, and de facto, both the audience and you yourself become your boss. So if you're like, oh, I'm feeling a bit sick, you can't call sick into work because you're phoning the boss in your head that is you,
like.
and you're going to tell yourself to get on with it. So I feel lucky that I'm still, as much as teaching in this current situation is completely fucked, like, I'm glad I've not had to pivot to live to this, online content creation stuff, because it does your head in, right? Because every single skill, like I'm the same as you. I have, this absolute grab bag of skills from doing comedy and being like this gig economy comedy person of, like, so you have to think about, okay, you can write jokes, but it's also performance, it's also marketing, it's also graphic design, it's also video editing, it's also audio editing, all of these plates that you have to spin. But so as we're recording this, but ye old demandos, we would physically record it in the same room, but we're recording this streamed now, obviously because of the plague. So I'm talking to Sean, but I'm talking to Sean in his bedroom, but I'm also talking to Sean where he works. When we were fully locked down, I taught for 3 months in this same way, and it's horrible. It's not working from home. It's like you wake up and you're just in your workplace.
The thing that would stop me just working from home was doing gigs, right? I would travel the entire country and I'd go off and have adventures. And when I got home, I was glad to be home.
Yeah, same.
Because I've gone and spent 3 days somewhere. I've just traveled from here to there. And I'm just living on the megabus, or, I'd often clump together some gigs in London, and I'd travel down to London. I'd stay there for a while, and I'd travel all around, and I'd go back up. That's what gave me coronavirus, by the way. Honouring my gig commitments around March, being like, we still on? And like, I'm emceeing a gig, being like, should I be on this stage?
Oh God.
Yeah. But now I'm just here. There is an idea you can do a commute, and you just go out of your house, wander around, and then come back. And now I'm at work, and then you do the same.
Who does that trick?
Oh, yeah, I know people who do it, but I can't. I won't do it.
Yeah, it wouldn't work for me.
I have this really horrible mask. So, do you know the one I mean?
That wasn't an edit. Sean just said that.
Yeah. In fact, the edit you might hear is Jack cutting that out when I don't think it's in. But well, I had this thing where, like, working became a lot harder because I was never leaving the house, right? I'm just in here.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, I need to delineate really clearly between work and not work.
Yeah.
And I can do it by hours, but it's not useful for me because I actually have loads of commitments in the evening. I've got commitments at random times, so I can't just set office hours, and that's not practical anyway. And what I'd love is like, you know, like in a radio booth, they've got like on air, off air. And like I could conceivably like flip a switch, but I'm not going to buy a piece of hardware to flip a switch because it just seems wasteful. I'm not going to wall mount a radio light. So I was thinking about getting,
as a Twitch guy, that sounds like something that would be in the background of a Twitch guy's.
Yeah, you've got to buy a lot of neon. You've got to get a green screen or a lot of neon and weird furniture that you don't like or use, but like makes you seem it bolsters your brand and as blurred out backgrounds.
And even though you're working on a computer, which should be kept as cool as possible, what you want to do is have stuff in your room that increases its temperature by 20 degrees Celsius,
if possible. Yeah, just open flames. It should look like a Rammstein concert in your bedroom. But yeah, this won't work entirely for the podcast because it's a visual item, but you know that absolutely horrible papier-mâché mask that I had for my 2018 show that's like still got some soy sauce stains on it.
It's a Barnaby J. Thompson, right?
It is a soft mongoose original. It is a horrific featureless mask that I wore for a horror section in the comedy show in 2018.
Oh, it's the soup mask.
Yeah.
Oh, I said that as if that would be helpful to the listener. It'll be helpful to some of them.
Yeah, to some people, they were like, I remember the soup mask. I saw that show. And I thought about, I haven't employed it yet, but I'm hovering around this idea that I mount the mask on top of my monitor and call it my boss.
That is fucked. That is fucked. Let's explain why that's fucked. That face, like
we could include it in the art for this episode.
The mask that Sean wears. The point in that of the show, that mask, and when he's saying it, he's got like is it a pre-recorded thing of you saying, "Oh, it was just soup. It was just soup," because he goes around trying to offer this bag of soup that he's made look completely rancid with
but
food
you don't
coloring.
know it's soup. I learned that if you decontextualize soup from the tin, it's just this goo.
Yeah, and it's you experiment with it to make it look very horrible, so people wouldn't say yes that they wanted some soup. So it's designed. The situation is designed that he offers the audience a rancid-looking liquid that is in fact just mushroom soup. No one wants it, unsurprisingly, and then this sends Sean within the show into a sort of meltdown where the lights pretty much black out. Apart from you can see Sean pacing up and down the stage in this featureless mask with like his own internal anxiety monologue going, "It was just soup. It was just soup." The mask represents Sean's bleakest headspace.
The mask represents a panic attack.
Yeah, the mask represents a panic attack, right? And you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to mount this fucking physical manifestation of my worst headspace
of my own panic
and make
attacks.
it my boss." So,
well, I kept thinking I'd listen to that guy, wouldn't I? I can't mount like a Beanie Baby or like I've got like a little stuffed bear. I'm not going to listen to that if it tells me to get back to work. I'll listen to my panic attacks.
Yeah, you'd be taking your own breaks.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's healthy then. I'm gonna pivot back to.
You've got to pivot back.
I'm gonna pivot back about skills, the place of skills in our economy and in our society. So these are some skills that, as a teacher, I'm supposed to make sure I teach students so they're ready to be employable. As in, because obviously, what education's for, guys, is to make sure you have the most potential to make someone else profit as possible. These are the things employers want. So should we think about if we've got them? Number one, business acumen / commercial awareness.
No.
Possibly your email game suggests this.
There's been lots of creative projects where I have put all of my effort into making the product good, right? The show good.
And lots of people learn this is the incorrect move.
Yeah, and lots of people are like, you could do this like this and make a lot more money. And I'm like, I don't have time for that because I've allocated all my time towards this very difficult production. And then making money from it in some ways, like always an afterthought.
Yeah.
Because it makes me feel bad. Thinking about money makes me feel bad and ill.
And it makes the work you want to do because you enjoy making the cool thing. It just completely. If someone says to you, "Oh, you could make more money if you just did this," then like, but I don't want to do that. I want to do this.
Yeah.
I'm.
But whenever you have a sit down with an agent, they always go like, "Well, what do you want an agent for?" Like they want to like work out what it is you want. And I never know how to say like because everything I'd ask you to do is all like the evil stuff I don't want to think about. but I want you to like get me money from my work without me having to think about the horrible stuff you have to do.
I want to externalize the worst aspects of this job to you and make you do it. So, we creatives complain about agents, but in that sense, that's, that's quite good.
There's an
Not
evil part of my
do.
job, and I want to outsource it to someone who is simultaneously working for me and my boss in an unclear relationship that we never define.
Communication. That's the next skill. Verbal and written.
Yeah, I got that in spades. Look at me go.
Yeah, we're smashing that. Teamwork.
Ups and downs.
I'm always suspicious when employers say that. I think teamwork, when employers ask for it, means do what you're told.
Compliance.
Yeah, it means compliance. And I think as well, communication probably means not talking back. Knowing how to talk to a manager. Yeah. Well, it should also mean like emoji use. Negotiation and persuasion. Presumably not negotiation for better paying conditions, right?
It's being subject to negotiation.
Problem solving. Not solving the problem of capitalism.
I've never done that.
I love the, that sort of all creativity is just problem solving. And I love these guys that break down joke writing into this system where you're like, okay, guys, I worked on the Jimmy Jim John radio show doing jokes for 15 years, and it was my day job. So here's what you do. You get an Excel spreadsheet, and you go on the news, you go on the popular news website, and you find all the things, and there's a news story about shoes. So I type shoes in, and then I type all the different types. Just type about shoes, as many things as you can type.
Okay, I've gone on your British news and I've seen this John Prescott. What do we got? He's fat. What else do we got? We don't need anything else. Then you write 1,000 jokes. You get them sent off. You will get airtime for 2 of them.
And it's just a numbers game. Yeah. This is just science. And you're like, why did you want to do comedy in the first place?
Yeah.
Is this what you wanted to do?
Do you ever have the moment where, do you ever check your behaviours, especially as someone who, partially live a dream? Actually, I don't think my dream was ever doing comedy. I think I just wanted to. Same. I don't think I wanted to do that as a child. But do you ever check your behaviours against, what will your child self think of them? And if I think my child self would hate it and me for doing it, it does give me pause for thought.
I use that. Not child self, because I think my proper child self was a complete moron. Mm-hmm. But maybe 15-year-old self.
Oh.
I think he was a moron, but I also think he was so virulently anarcho-jack that he's got good ethics. I would hate the prick if I knew him now. My past self.
I think as I go younger, I think I become more trustworthy, but also stupider. So there's a real trade-off there. 9, I think, maybe optimal guidance.
I reckon my 9-year-old Jack probably thought cops were good or something.
Right.
It sounds like he's an idiot. Leadership.
The closest thing I have to leadership is going, listen, when things are actually happening, I'm going to get really stressed with all of you and I'll apologise afterwards. That's my leadership.
Yeah. Organisation.
No.
Well, yeah. Organisation. This is a lot of things that are labelled skills, employability skills. So much of it is the 2 things of compliance and being neurotypical.
Mm. Yeah, be normal while quiet.
Perseverance, ability to work under pressure. I feel like I'm interviewing you for a job now. I don't know what the job would be. I don't know what I would employ you as. I'm going to employ you to work on an oil rig as my friend.
Well, prepare to get sea landed, friend or no friend. No social relationships are going to stop me from sea landing.
Computer skills. Got them. You can make memes, mate. All employees want that. And the big one, the tip of the iceberg, resilience.
What's the difference between resilience and perseverance?
Yeah, good question.
Thanks. I'm hired.
I'm not completely sure, but they are separated out in this arbitrary list I found. My view of resilience is that what it means is, as we make your paying conditions worse, you don't kick off.
Yeah.
You will accept the well-being email we send out as that you now have well-being, so it's done. So you just stop moaning.
Every time we cut your real pay by 10%, you will get enough ASCII art to placate you.
You know the phrase low paid, not low skilled, which is like a left-wing defense of workers labeled low skilled by this idea that there's skilled jobs and there's unskilled jobs.
Yeah.
I think it might be a dead end. And that's what I wanted to kind of talk about.
Is it because you're sort of reacting to the frame that's been set around skill? Because if you go back to them and go, actually, we agree these things are skilled, it's like, I mean, it's just what happens in the media circus, right? The right will say something and it gets fed through tabloids, and the left go, actually, the real scroungers are these people. It's like, hang on, why are we talking about scrounging? Why are you guys talking about scrounging? And so people go, there's skilled people and there aren't skilled people, and the unskilled people are these people. And the left go, actually, we think it's these people as well. And then it's like, why are we talking about skill? Why are we talking about meritocracy? What's going on? Yeah,
they react to things like, if the capitalists say, oh, we pay all these millions in tax, and then they react to it and go, oh, but actually as a proportion of their income, working class people and middle class people pay more tax. No, you're in that frame. Or saying, actually immigrants.
Yeah, they contribute to the economy. Okay, but even if they didn't, they shouldn't drown.
Yeah, exactly. You're in the right-wing frame, so they will win because you're playing in their structure. That is exactly why I don't like the skill thing, because basically what it says, it takes the premise that you should be sort of respected more or paid more or have better paying conditions because you're skilled.
Yeah.
It's accepting the premise that skill relates in any fucking way to how you're rewarded in the system that we have currently.
Do you know, there's a germ of something, right? Because obviously where we want to end up is going, listen, we don't want skill equals merit and merit equals more pay, and that's how we stratify who gets to have nice living conditions. But there is a germ in talking about skill, in talking about all the things that people do that don't get any kind of acknowledgement. Like you talk about emotional labour, you talk about reproductive labour, you talk about all the things that don't, like if you want to talk about skill, let's talk about like gendered labour, and you can have it out on those terms. But we don't just want to be like, cleaning is also hard. Yeah, of course cleaning is also
every
hard, but we're not going to do...
Every job is skilled. This is the thing. Every job is skilled, but how skill is defined and what is skilled and unskilled is defined by the fucking capitalists. So that's why, obviously, emotional labour is a skill. And think how much emotional labour... So emotional labour employed outside the workplace and emotional labour employed by people doing social work or care work, and then it's devalued in the workplace because the people who do care work, it tends to be, more often than not, it's women, and then because that emotional labor which is a fucking skill, is devalued because of its association with people that are devalued in society anyway, so they become labeled as low skilled jobs. Like it's a two-pronged thing of like, I reject the idea of low skilled jobs because I think all jobs are skilled, and I also think that the frame of trying to go, but this job is actually skilled specifically as an organizing thing, as a way to convince people or bring about policy change, is also bad.
Because what the right have always needed is some kind of virtue to link to merit, to then reverse engineer. This is why these people get paid an absolute ton. And this is why you get paid the amount you get paid, because you're not very good across this one measurable way. The reason you don't want to do that is because no matter what trait you pick, there's going to be someone who doesn't have it, and they don't deserve to starve as well. Right? So no one deserves to just be homeless and live on the street, no matter what they're like. Yeah,
it's like social mobility. Oh, we need to improve social mobility. Do we fuck? A hierarchy does not become just once you can move up and down it according to some fucking made up metric that you've got. Fuck that.
I don't believe that economic equality is possible. Indeed, some measure of inequality is essential.
In the UK, the richest 0.1%, that's about 66,000 people, control 9% of total wealth. That's the same as the poorest 50%, about 33 million people. Like medieval monarchs ruling by divine right, the rich need a mythology to convince us peasants not to just take all their stuff, what with there being just like loads more of us. The divine right of our kings is social mobility, meritocracy, in the US, the American dream. The idea that the right cocktail of talent and hard graft can make anyone a billionaire. The rich are rich because they're smart, they're hardworking, they deserve it. The poor, therefore, are poor because they are either thick, lazy, or both. It's not impossible to rise to the top. Take Jim Ratcliffe, the individual richest British person, born on a council estate in Manchester. This guy's net worth is estimated at £24 billion. Whoa! If you worked a full-time job on the UK minimum wage, you too could have £24 billion if you worked for 1,571,812 years. What does Jim Ratcliffe do to get such wealth? Let's take a gander at Jimmy's CV. His first job was at the planet-suffocating and human rights-violating oil company ExxonMobil. Then he went to US private equity group Advent International, which made big bucks from such savvy financial moves as investing in Poundland, DFS, and the collapse of the Soviet bloc. Jim then combined his private equity and petrochemical skills to build his own company, INEOS? INEOS is spelled I-N-E-O-S. I don't know how to pronounce that. Old Jimmy Ratcliffe doesn't say much, kind of stays out of the public eye, but it's clear he's a pretty smart guy. For example, in 2019, he kicked off about the UK regulations on fracking that said that you've got to stop fracking when it causes an earthquake, specifically saying,
I think the government has been pathetic on the subject.
He has also shown his skills and intellect by choosing to live in Monaco, where income tax is, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Listen, yeah, you. Listen up, Mando's listener. Put the dumbbells down for a second and stop looking at your little drawing of Malcolm X. I know you. I know the type of person listening to this leftist propaganda. This swill. You're all the same. You're like me. You're trapped by the socialist victim mindset. The only thing standing between you and 24 billion quids is your mindset. If you really put your mind to it and enter two of the most toxic industries on earth, private equity firms and petrochemical industries, you too might be able to become so rich a pharaoh wouldn't believe it. A pharaoh wouldn't even understand it. You could tell a pharaoh,
I have made £24 billion in the petrochemical industry.
And they wouldn't know what the fuck you were talking about. There are plenty of billionaires who seem thick as day-old custard. But Jim Ratcliffe, at least, seems to be pretty smart. Trouble is, he's applied that smartness to extracting wealth from the planet while also poisoning it. No matter how intelligent you have to be to succeed doing that seems pretty stupid. It also doesn't seem like something you should be rewarded thousands and thousands and thousands of times more than someone who cleans the floors at Tesco for. Our current economic system does not reward skill or intelligence or hard work. It rewards profit. It doesn't reward work. It rewards ownership. Key workers, essential workers, people who will never have Ratcliffe's wealth, came to centre stage at the start of the pandemic. It became crystal clear, if it wasn't before, whose work is essential. And often, those doing the most important work, the most socially valuable work, were doing so for very little reward. It doesn't really matter if these workers are skilled or not. What matters is their work has social value. A lot of work that has social value isn't even paid work. But the mythology of capitalism suggests not only that inequality is inevitable, not only that it's necessary, but that it's just. That's why Johnson's defence of inequality moved immediately to IQ.
It is surely relevant to a conversation about equality that as many as 16% of our species have an IQ below 85, 2% have an IQ above 130.
IQ, which stands for intelligence quotient, is a way people try to objectify the subjective and complex thing we call intelligence. They don't care about creativity or emotional intelligence or any of that hippie bullshit. You can also practice and get better and better at these IQ tests, and also they're distorted by the cultural background of the people who design them. They're flawed, right? IQ tests are flawed. They're also a little bit eugenicsy. I don't think, though, that Johnson is quite suggesting that capitalism just ranks people by IQ, then gives you a kind of corresponding number of pounds. But he is bringing it up to suggest some natural, inevitable quality to inequality that capitalism simply reflects. So let's assume IQ is fine, even though it is fucked, and see what its relationship to poverty is. In their book Scarcity, behavioural economist Sendhil Mullainathan and psychologist Eldar Shafir show a lot of evidence that rather than a low IQ keeping you in poverty, the experience of poverty lowers your IQ. Basically, being poor is so rough, the mental energy required to make the moment-to-moment decisions you've got to limits your cognitive function in a similar way to like sleep deprivation or alcoholism. Right, for example, Mullainathan and Shafir did a study in rural India where after the harvest, sugarcane farmers get over half their annual income in one big chunk. So what that basically means is for that bit of the year, they're fine, but then as the year goes on, and when you're further away from that big harvest windfall, things get rough. They did cognitive tests at both times, when they had money, when they didn't, when they were secure and when they weren't, and they found the exact same farmers, so the same people, did worse when they had less money. Flawed as IQ is, basically what they're showing is that poverty lowers it. They go as far as to call this a cognitive tax. So 2 conclusions before we get back to mine and Sean's convo. Number 1, capitalism does not reward smart people by making them rich. In a lot of cases, the poverty capitalism sustains stops us from fulfilling our potential. Poverty stops people from being as smart as they could be. Secondly, while it is possible for a poor person to become a billionaire in very, very rare cases, and maybe this can represent a certain kind of skill or intelligence, if you use your skill and intelligence to become a billionaire, you haven't helped people. You found a way to extract profit from the work of others, maybe even destroying our environment while you're at it.
We talk about bullshit jobs, and there's jobs that don't help the economy. They just keep people trapped in work because we can't think beyond the paradigm of go to work, and that's why we can justify you having any money. Otherwise, you should starve. Like, bullshit jobs often have a lot more prestige connected to them. People do marketing, people do business law, people whose job is just to argue against the other. Like, this firm has bought someone to argue around the place, and now we need one in our firm to beat that guy.
Marketing and sales directors is one of the top paying jobs in the UK. Like, marketing sales directors on like an average of about £93,000.
Yeah.
And all they do is create needs that weren't there before. So they try to make you want a thing you didn't originally want, so you will buy it. And this is the whole. I mean, we're getting into a whole bigger conversation here about capitalism being an efficient economic model.
Yeah.
Of course it's not. But the richest people in the UK, if you just go on the Times rich list, the reason they're wealthy is that they own things. No, I think because of I think in 2020, the richest guy is James Dyson, who came up, some one vacuum thing. But I think most of his money's still in just owning. Owning, A, means of production, and B, property.
Yeah. You just maintain and receive wealth by owning a thing, and the thing just gives you more money, and then you buy a new thing. Yeah, that gives you more money.
It's not a skill, and it's bizarre because they try to. The premise is they try to use the idea of skilled and unskilled labor. It's linked to, like you say, this idea of meritocracy, that skill is rewarded, but skill isn't rewarded. Ownership is rewarded, and any skills that are rewarded. Say you were skilled at, for example, marketing. You're skilled at something that isn't socially useful. Like you might be really good at marketing because you're very good at kind of finding out what people want, and maybe art. And those are skills, but using them to sell like Febreze for dogs or some shit.
You are only needed because other people have it, right? If someone's got a sales director, you need a sales director as well. And then everything creeps up. So all businesses end up with this bloat because they're like, oh, we don't have like this managing director who's going to come and revolutionize where we do it. But they have one. So there's this incredible, it's a Philip K. Dick short story that I really love. It's just, how it's sort of set in that like 1950s future, sort of like a Fallout universe.
Yeah.
And there's one where everyone has a robot nanny, right? Yeah. So that becomes normalized. Everyone has a nanny who helps them look after their kids and while you go off to work. And that's all done by robots now. However, one day they're out in the park and someone else's nanny kind of produces this kind of Sir Kill-a-Lot style mace and then just kills another nanny. It's like, oh, our kid's got no nanny now. And it witnessed the death of their nanny. So then when they go back to the shop where you buy the nannies, they're like, yeah, do you want any weapons attached to yours? What do you mean? It's like, yeah, some have got weapons, so you need weapons on yours if yours is going to survive out in the park now. And the story just follows this like line as the nannies become more and more militarized and just start waging war on each other. But everyone has to get stronger and stronger nannies. Otherwise, no one's going to look after your kid.
Wow.
And that's the bloat. Like, more jobs get added and they're kind of not that helpful. And one thing we've learned as well is that those jobs have prestige. But for most people whose jobs are absolutely necessary, like doctors and nurses, we think maybe they should be paid more, they should have more prestige. But there's loads of jobs where even you don't have the luxury of thinking it's helpful. If you work on a shop checkout, you're not going to think, I'm really helping my community here. You're not going to think that. You're oh, that's just what I'm doing. You don't get paid in line with the worth of your job and how much it helps, but you don't even get the credit for how socially useful it is.
It's disgusting. That's not even getting into how skilled and unskilled is framed with like immigration law and stuff like that. Right. But it's a total nonsense, skilled and unskilled jobs. And also with the robot thing, it's education, right? The Blair line from the 90s of we're just the assumption is everything, all manual labor is going to be outsourced. Mm-hmm. So globalization and automation will mean that the global north is just going to be left with high skilled jobs. Yeah. So what we need to do in our 90s mindset is make sure everyone's got a degree, because everyone's just going to be doing these so-called high-skilled jobs. And that was, at one point, that's basically what high skill meant, is it required a degree to do, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not what happened. They didn't outsource all of the jobs. Like, there's plenty of low-paid jobs remain, but they're just service sector jobs or care jobs, or there's loads of work still here that needs to be done because it's socially necessary in healthcare and social care and education and like you say, retail, or, driving trucks to move things between retail spaces.
We've got a humongous hospitality economy. Yeah.
Right, yeah. All of those things are really, really important. But the idea that you just need to skill yourself up, and if everyone skills themselves up enough, then no one will have to do any of those jobs because they'll all be like, everyone can be rich because they're all skilled enough.
Yeah, like, everyone's a lawyer and no one cleans the office. What world is this?
Yeah, they're socially necessary jobs. So like, but the education, like as many people getting a degree as possible, like the way it's been linked, everyone being as educated as possible is fantastic. And lifelong education for the purpose of learning should be available to all, simply for the purpose of learning and furthering human knowledge and understanding. But the fact that it's been coupled to you're investing in yourself as a product to sell to employers, to make you a more attractive investment, because that's what you do. That's all your CV is. It's a list of why you, as a product, the things you've upgraded with yourself with your education, what value you offer to them, so they can extract surplus value from your labor. Like, doing that to education it's completely it's delusional, because then it's like, no, there can't be a point where everyone gets educated enough and everyone is skilled enough, so that just deletes all these socially necessary jobs. Like the people are like, oh, well, if you don't like working at McDonald's, get a better job. Okay, so who's going to serve you at McDonald's then?
If everyone who worked at McDonald's did that, then, well, you'd lose like a whole sector.
Yeah. I'm not saying that
McDonald's closing would be a bad thing.
McDonald's needs to survive the revolution. But that's my point. It's like, you want the thing. You want a coffee, or you want a pint in a pub. From someone who's really fucking low paid and has shit terms and conditions.
But they don't. They want robots to do it. Do you know what I mean? They wanted to come out of a dumb waiter and go, here is your bitter.
Yeah, boo, beep, enjoy. Or they'll just try and do it self-serve. But then people will just be employed supervising the self-serve.
I love, just at the shop, there's just someone whose job is as full on as doing the checkout, because the machines don't work. And I was wondering, there'll be a point eventually where they just hire a machine that just regularly goes, I don't know why it's doing that, let me reset it. You just press the button and it goes, sorry, I don't know why it won't work.
I'm imagining that they just install an arm on the back of every self-service checkout thing, so that when you put your rucksack on the thing and the weight doesn't quite tally up, and the guy who normally just comes over and goes, sound, and then just hits one button, there's actually a huge like an 8-foot mechanical arm, and it's just got a finger on it, and when that thing comes up, you just go, and it just goes, oh yeah, sorry mate, and it just smashes it on the screen.
Beep. Sorry mate. It's been like this all day.
And it's one arm on a rail that goes like
and the rail is so complicated and the machinery is so sophisticated, they need to employ 40 more staff just to maintain it.
And they're all doing it remote from home.
They all think they're playing a game. They think they're playing like a pachinko or something. Think they're playing just a seaside grabber remotely.
And then you get some absolute madhead who's like playing it like Roller Coaster Tycoon, trying to build a roller coaster where everyone dies.
They're trying to make it fix everyone's self-checkout machine errors, but so it lines up with Queen's Don't Stop Me Now. Gonna screen capture this, stick it on YouTube.
Now that's skilled labour. Mandatory Redistribution Party was created and produced by Sean Morley and Jack Evans. Our title theme was created by Ella Jean, additional music from Jack Evans. If you enjoy Mandatory Redistribution Party, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple to help others find us, or you can support us on Patreon. The subject matter of this episode is also touched upon in my stand-up special entitled Work, which you can listen to for free as a Mando's app if you scroll back far enough. Thanks for listening and supporting the podcast. Hope you're doing all right. See you.